Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will read, I'm John Fuller, the liaison from the Board of Selectmen to the Public Works and Natural Resources Building Committee. I will read the notice. The public hearing information session notice, Saturday, April 1st, 2017 at 10 a.m., Nauset Room, Town Hall. This meeting will be recorded and broadcast live on Channel 18. The Department of Public Works and Natural Resources Building Committee will hold a public hearing information session at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 1st, 2017 in the Nauset Room at Town Hall, 19 School Road, Orleans. Plans have been completed to build a new facility at 40 Godiah Hill Road. The site plan, floor layout, and elevations renderings, as well as the cost, will be presented at this forum. Featured speakers will be Peter Canine, Chair of the Department of Public Works and Natural Resources Building Committee, Thomas Daly, P.E., Orleans Director of the Department of Public Works and Natural Resources, Jeffrey Alberti, Project Manager from Weston and Sampson, and Joseph Sullivan, Orleans Owners Project Manager, Daedalus Projects, Inc. The Building Committee is interested in informing the voters about this project in preparation for requesting construction funding at the Monday, May 8th, 2017 annual town meeting, and a vote at the polls on Tuesday, May 16th, 2017. Orleans citizens are urged to attend at this hearing. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is what is the basic reasons for doing this. Here's a brief department history. 2012, Board of Selectmen voted to proceed with the implementation of a DPW and natural resources structure. April 2013, first Department of Public Works and Natural Resources Director hired. May 2015, Department of Public Works and Natural Resources budgets officially combined. And as you can see, the Department of Public Works and Natural Resources is a very large department, which includes town office buildings, tree department, shellfish harbor master, highway, transfer station, beaches, the windmill, facilities, streetlights, recreation, snow, water department, and parks that the DPW is scattered in Orleans. Secondly, and very importantly, employee work environment. It's untenable and inefficient now. This is just one example of what the present facility looks like. Overall public safety. Without the DPW, fire, police, water, they can't do their jobs. They couldn't get to people's homes, or they couldn't repair a water main. Very important. And time does matter. A one-year delay could cost us an additional $510,000. Two-year delay, cost could be an additional $1,041,000. At this time, I will have Peter Canine come up, the chairman of the Public Works and Natural Resources Facility Committee, and he will brief you.
Good morning. I'm Peter Canine, and I'm chairman of the DPW Natural Resources Building Committee. This has actually been a process that's been going on for quite a long time. The existing highway garage dates back to 1960. 1997, there was a committee that was formed to explore acquiring the Common Electric, formerly the Common Electric building on Bay Ridge Lane. In 2009, there was a second DPW facility committee that was created. December 2013, the Board of Selectmen funded $30,000 for DPW and NR facility planning study committee. In March of 2014, Weston and Sampson was hired and our planning began. In October 2014, the town meeting funded $40,000 for more detailed plans and costs. The committee was put together in January 2015 and consisted of myself, Mike Smith as clerk, Hank Spadacia, Buddy Young, and Herb Kenny. In May of 2015, town meeting funded $149,000 for environmental assessments and more detailed designs and cost estimates. In May of 2016, town meeting funded $900,000 for final design. And as March of 2017, we opened sub-bids, and they were filed and happily found to be under what we had estimated. In April 2017, our final bids are due Monday, April 3rd. As I say, since 1960, 67 years ago, we've renovated or built Town Hall twice. The fire department's been done twice. The police department has done it twice. And the library's been done twice. We're well overdue. Thank you.
Good morning. Tom Daly, I'm your Director of Public Works and Natural Resources. Pleasure to be here. So just a quick chat. John Fuller talked about it a little bit on how large a department we are and what we do for the town of Orleans. We are one of the town's emergency services, and we touch the residents of lives every day in town. We maintain the roadways, sidewalks, parks. We're involved, we run the transfer station for solid waste and recyclables. We maintain the town's vehicle fleet. We maintain and operate the public beaches. We maintain the stormwater systems throughout the town, make improvements. We ensure proper maintenance of the town facilities, provide support for all town-wide activities, maintenance on Eldridge Field, but we're also involved in a lot of events that go on through the community, holiday lighting, annual festivals, civic associations, weddings on town properties, events on the parks, beaches, field, facility scheduling, and even the 4th of July parade. We are one of the town's emergency services. We're also involved in tree planting around the town and tree maintenance, pruning, shellfish management, the harbor master, water supply and fire protection, recreation, and windmill, tourists, and even your sticker sales. We sell the transfer station beach and shellfish stickers. A lot of these items, people every day, we actually, I got thinking about it about a year ago, we touch people's lives probably more than any government agency there is, more than the federal government, more than the state, and more than probably any other local department. Every time you turn on your water in this community, you're dealing with public works, almost every day. When you throw away your trash, you're public works. When you're driving on the roadways, it's public works. So we touch you more than any other department, as far as I'm concerned, any government department anywhere. So we're also involved in maintenance of some of the town's most vital infrastructure. We're a 24-hour-a-day operation to deal with unexpected problems and emergencies, snow and ice, removal of road hazards, repair of water main breaks. Here's a great picture of water main break in the middle of a snowstorm 2 years ago. The guys will be out plowing 30-something, 40 hours, and then we get a water main break, and they go from the water main break, and the water department responds to that, which is another probably 12 hours. Storm cleanup, flooding. Wonderful rainy days like today, we're out there cleaning basins and picking up trees. We got one tree already this morning we had to pick up. Emergency facility repairs. And we are, like I said, and Mr. Fuller said, a first responder, emergency support for other departments. So just real quickly, why do we need a new facility? Picture's worth 1,000 words. Picture of our current facility on Bay Ridge. Original highway department, about 1960. Water department. Actually, I want to show you here, make a note, that the garage bay door on the right, remember that garage bay door on the right? But there's the highway facility, and the water shop was built in about 62, about the same vintage. There are just, the vehicle maintenance support area is just drastically undersized. We only have one small lift. For years, we had no lift. Mechanic could work on his back. The employee accommodations are absolutely inadequate and inappropriate. So remember that garage bay I told you to look at? Well, this is inside that particular garage bay. This is the highway department muster room, lunch room. This is where they take their breaks. This is where, after they're in the middle of a storm, they're out for 36 hours straight. This is where they come back to and where they rest and where they have their coffee or grab a quick bite to eat. Absolutely inadequate. Not the way to treat our staff, which are vital to this community. and just inadequate functionality. Just everything's too small, everything's jammed everywhere, and everything's very old. Doesn't meet the needs of today's department. Just plain old and worn out. This is a great picture, and I wanted to add another one here, but I didn't get it. This is our generator that powers the highway department when we lose power. It's a World War II vintage generator, literally. We call it Ike. We have to manufacture parts to keep the generator running. And in the last significant storm we had about a month ago, we lost power, 12, 18 hours, and it ran, and it runs well. However, we have to crack the doors in the facility, the garage doors, to keep fresh air because of the potential carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide issues, which do permeate into the building from the generator. And we've been put on notice. A couple of quick things. I mean, we showed this last year, but I think these are important enough to add again. In 1998, Gaffney Architects did the first condition and needs report on our facilities. And note the common themes and everything I'm going to show you right now. So the highway department parks over in Bay Ridge, numerous, this is back in 98, numerous OSHA violations. Air quality is a major concern, poor lighting, poor heating. The lack of adequate workspace has created numerous safety hazards. The administration unit is in poor structural condition. There's extensive termite damage, deterioration in the wood sills, water penetrates into the floor area. The lighting and electrical service is inadequate, and the heating system is in poor condition. This is how many years ago? 19 years ago? We're still in the same facility. The toilet, locker, and shower facilities are inadequate or in otherwise poor condition. The area is cluttered and a hazard unto itself. Emphasis added. Fumes from the operations area permeate into the office area. The space needs of the highway department must be doubled. That was back in 1998. Regarding the water shop, as Mr. Fuller said, more significant is the fact that the department manager is remote from the operations, which is located 2 to 3 miles away. The situation requires constant travel to 2 locations, and consequently is an inefficient arrangement. Well, that's not that was back in 98. It's not just the water department, it's the entire department. Myself and the operations manager, we work out of 139 Main Street. So regarding the water shop, the facility is too small to house vehicle equipment, parts, or repairs that's being conducted in it. Most paramount, and this is important, if you looked at that picture of the water shop, the town well number 1 is in the building where we house vehicles and equipment, etc. So most paramount is the fact that pumping station, well 1, is within the same structure that the vehicles are housed, which is direct violation of DEP regulations. Risk to public water supply. The entire building should be vacated. That was 1998, and we're still doing the same thing. 99, the county health department came out. Same issues, HVAC, incredible challenge. A hodgepodge of systems, some working against each other. High levels of carbon dioxide. Areas of high moisture. There are areas where fumes and moisture can cause major problems like corroding containers and toxic fumes, potentially resulting in unintentional releases and human exposure, both costly and extremely preventable. This is a hazard to the staff and the public that visits the facility. We are highly space challenged. The site is still, mold and mildew problem. Area of food prep, probably the bay I showed you, is so challenged that you are storing hazardous materials there. There are elevated levels of CO2 and carbon monoxide. Huge potential for human health risks from exposure. And it is certainly a representation, this report was a representation of the facility, not all-inclusive. In other words, it's worse than they actually said it was. That was, how many years ago? 18 years ago? If I'm doing the math right? In 2009, 10 years later, they came back, same issues, chronic moisture and mold, chronic situational exposure to any employee present. The carbon monoxide exceeds safe occupational levels. Significant health risks to employees. Ventilation, indoor air quality priority, immediate and very high. It was immediate in 2009. It's 2017. Nonetheless, something needs to be done as the employee health considerations are presently acute. That was 2009. Last comment, as previously said, we are a first responder, and the facility needs to be designed with that in mind. Quick thought, I like this cover of the APWA reporter back in 2011, If you don't recognize where the photo is from, it's from the Twin Towers cleanup. And what it says is Public Works, first responders who are there until the emergency is over. Personally, I worked in a community that suffered from the tornado hit a few years ago. And, you know, police and fire, nothing against anyone. Police and fire came in, they did their jobs, they did it well, and they left. You know, maybe they were there for a week or so. We were there for months. Public Works was there for months cleaning up the mess. And it's true all over the country. So now I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Alberti, who's our program manager from Weston and Sampson.
Thank you very much. I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking about what has been developed over the last several months in preparation of coming up with bids for the project. This is an overall current view, an aerial view of the proposed site. Generally speaking, we're located in the center of the site. You can see the cap landfill to the upper left with the solar array and the transfer station to the right of that. The area that we're focused on for the new Public Works and Natural Resources facility is centrally located, shown here. This is an aerial view of the proposed site. And through the process in developing concepts, we initially started with an overall survey of the site. You can see Godiah Hill Road is running from the upper left to the bottom right. And the general limit of the work is outlined here in red. So this was used to identify where we could come up with a concept that would be both cost-effective and efficient for the overall operations. So through the process of a comprehensive space needs assessment, we identified the needs for the facility and then began developing detailed concepts, and working closely with DPW, we were able to develop a preferred concept. And you can see there are three major components in the center of the screen. You have the proposed facility. It's a consolidated pre-engineered metal building to support the operations. To the left of that is the existing fueling facility, which is a town-wide fueling facility which has recently been completed. And in the upper right, you can see the salt storage structure. Now within this, you can see the gray shaded area that represents the circulation for the vehicles and equipment around the site, as well as the parking for staff and the public as they visit the site. Now, as you begin to look at the facility itself, one of our goals early on was to try to come up with the most efficient building that would meet the operational needs and would be cost effective. So if we zoom in on the actual facility itself, it's about a 42,000 square foot facility. And as you begin to look at what is included, there are 6 main operating areas. The first being in the right-hand side, this is the office and administrative function. This is where staff will be located and where the public will actually come to conduct daily business with Public Works and Natural Resources. To the left of that is the employee facilities. This is compared to some of the photographs that Tom showed you. This would be your basic amenities that would support the operations now and well into the future, including locker, shower, toilet facilities, employee muster room that's not located within a garage bay, as well as general support functions for training of the staff. Just above that is the vehicle maintenance area. This is where the multi-million-dollar fleet that's used by the Department of Public Works and Natural Resources will be maintained in a much more efficient layout, proper height, allowing the larger equipment to be lifted. This will ensure that equipment is repaired in a timely fashion, back out on the road doing the work of maintaining the community. And just above that in the blue area is a new proposed wash bay. I'll talk a little bit more about one of the benefits of having this bay in an enclosed facility. And to the right of that is the workshop space. This is general workshop areas that are well maintained and efficient for the operations, for harbor master, highway and parks, and water. And then finally, on the top of the page, you'll see the largest space, the vehicle and equipment storage area. It's important to note that although this is the largest space, it is the most inexpensive space to construct. It's a minimally heated garage. It's storing a multi-million-dollar fleet. This storage area will ensure that equipment, number one, will last longer, it'll have less maintenance costs, and it really will improve the overall efficiencies of the operations, allowing the DPW to respond to the needs of the community in a much more timely and efficient manner. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we've added a wash bay, and what's important to note is that DEP requires vehicles to be washed and the wash water to be collected and properly disposed of. But due to the limitations of the facilities that exist today, you can see This is a photograph of the wash bay now. It's essentially outdoors. There's no place to properly wash this equipment. What that means is you have wash water that can get into the environment, but more importantly, because the facilities are inappropriate on days where it's cold and freezing, it's difficult to wash this equipment, then it can't be maintained, it can't be washed. You're storing, highly corrosive materials on this equipment. So having a proper wash facility that's indoors, heated, collects that the wash water from washing activities into a series of tanks, ultimately to a tight tank so it's not getting into the environment. We're recycling that water. Having the proper facilities will ensure that the washing activities will take place more often, ultimately extending the life of that equipment, making it more efficient and useful to DPW. This is a schematic elevation of the proposed facility, looking at it from Godiah Hill Road, and also looking at it from the north to the right-hand side. And the real takeaway, if you're looking at the bottom one, is that there's several different volumes. The lower, darker volume to the left is the office and employee facility area. The larger volume in the center represents the shop areas and vehicle maintenance. You have a higher roof line there, primarily because you're lifting vehicles and equipment within that structure. And to the right is the vehicle and equipment storage area. The benefit of having these different volumes ensures that you can reduce costs by keeping some of those roof heights down, and also reduce your operating costs because you're not heating as large a volume as opposed to just building one large massive building. And through that process, this is a schematic rendering of the facility, looking towards it as you approach it from Godiah Hill Road. And this really helps to demonstrate the different volumes. You can see the lower volume in the front. This is where the public will be accessing the building, where DPW staff will be located, where the employee facilities are located. You can see the center higher volume for the vehicle maintenance activities, and then the rear volume where the vehicle and equipment storage would be located. And this is another view as if you were coming down Godiah Hill Road, where you can again see the different volumes. So it's a very cost-effective, efficient, pre-engineered metal building that's being proposed, which is really suitable for this type of operation. So using all of that information, we've prepared cost estimates throughout the process. And the goal here was to really come up with cost-effective design, and that really started with the layout of the building. We really came up with a very simplistic three-section design to ensure that we could reuse and share some of the structural framing within the building. From there, we identified the use of a pre-engineered metal building. This is an example photograph showing you long span, very efficient framing to ensure that we could keep costs down. As we developed cost estimates, we broke them down into the major building components, starting with the building itself at roughly $9.5 million. The building includes industrial support equipment. This would include the proper wash facilities, wash equipment, as well as some updated maintenance equipment to repair the fleet. We also included site development costs, about $1.8 million, and this is all the grading, paving, material storage bins, landscaping, demolition of the existing structures on the site. We included a new salt storage structure, about $270,000, and then we're carrying some contingencies primarily because we're in the final stages of estimating. We're waiting to get our bids. So we have a total construction cost of about $12.4 million. Now, if you look at that $12.4 million and you break that down into a cost per square foot basis, you see that the proposed facility is about $294 per square foot. And then we compare that to 5 similar projects that have actually been built or bid, and those are all pre-engineered metal building projects, similarly sized. And those average about $314 a square foot. The main reason for the savings that you see between our estimate and the similar facilities is that Public Works is doing a portion of the site development. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see that we've estimated the savings associated with Public Works doing some of this work is about $500,000. So it's a great contribution and a real good effort to try to keep this cost as low as possible. We've also listed all of the owner's development costs. It's important that we really think of everything that's needed to ensure that this building can be constructed and they can move in and begin operation on day one. So we've included furnishings, communications. We have our OPM and A&E costs associated with getting this through construction. We have commissioning to ensure all the systems are running properly, testing and inspection, which is required by the building code, as well as utility back charges, and then just a construction contingency of about $600,000, which is there to deal with any unforeseen conditions that could arise. And if they don't, then that money won't be spent through that process. Also we add in the total of these owner development costs, you come up with a total cost of about $13.8 million. So as I mentioned earlier, we took a look at similar projects, and I'll just show you a slide. And these are 5 projects that were bid between 2014 and 2016. We took those costs, escalated them out to 2017, and came up with an average of about $314 per square foot. And again, that compares to the current estimate at about $294 per square foot for the Orleans DPW Natural Resource Facility. So you can see we're right in line. I think through the efforts of getting Public Works involved in some of the site work, will save the community some money through that process. So at this point, I'm going to turn over to Joe Sullivan.
Hi, not Joe Sullivan. Tom Daly, I'm going to go off script just for one quick moment. Comment came up prior to this presentation, and I'm going to back up a little bit. Just want to address one issue that I think is important that we get out to the folks and the folks at home. If you look at this site, what I'm going to talk about real quickly is there's been some conversation about nitrogen issues coming off the landfill. And I think it's important to note how this project not only is working in sync with any other project, but also helping the issue, the nitrogen issue coming off the landfill. So if you look here again, here's the landfill itself with the solar panels on top. Here we go. Here is the transfer station. The gift house is located here. Let's see. And our proposed facility is here. So it's, adjacent to the landfill. Water flow coming off the landfill goes in this direction. Groundwater flow goes in this direction. We have our salt shed right here. So what I mean by we're working in sync, I've been involved with at least 6 to 10 meetings over the last year or so, working with the consultants dealing with the nitrogen issue coming off the landfill. And we are fully in sync with any potential work there. In fact, we had a meeting earlier this week, again, with the consultants talking about potential solutions to the nitrogen issue. And one of the things that came out of the meeting was that our project actually should help reduce the nitrogen issue coming off the landfill. So we are in sync with anything that could happen down the road in that regard. And I'd rather not take any questions and take them later at the end of the presentation. So at this point, I'd like to move forward again, apologize to interrupt, to Mr. Joe Sullivan, who is our owner's project manager. Thank you.
Hi, as Tom alluded to, I'm Joe Sullivan from Daedalus Projects. We're the owner's project manager, which the state requires any project over $1,500,000 to have an owner's project manager. Our role with this project is basically to manage the project along with the architect in the town to make sure that we meet the program needs and the building requirements necessary for the Town of Orleans DPW building. Our office consists of our owner, Richard Marks, as the president and the executive director. I'm managing the project along with Jeff Alberti and Dan Tenney as the project architect. Our tasks and our responsibilities are basically to ensure that we meet all of the program needs, but in order to do so, we have to make sure that we meet all of the requirements through the building departments, the local authorities for approval process, as well as mediating the costs associated with the project. I think the architectural team in the town has done a tremendous job showing the need for the project, but they have also identified the building construction and the most effective way to build this building at the most reasonable costs associated with the project. This actually is a great avenue just to reduce any impact to each town resident that may be paying a dollar value towards this project. In order to do so, we do an independent review of the budget as well as a reconciliation of estimates. We do an independent estimate on our own, and then we have a reconciliation with the architect's independent estimator. And this ensures that we're all looking at the same type of scope as well as the type of material with this building so that we can look at it and value engineer if necessary to make sure that we stay on track and on budget. Our project schedule currently right now is to build this building within a 14-month period. Our general bids are, as Tom and the architect alluded to was April 3rd. We're anticipating to have favorable bids based on our sub-file contractors that have bidded to date. Construction is anticipated to be completed in the fall of 2018. That includes, the 14 months includes the DPW performing their scope of work. We have also had some recent examples of projects that were bid recently, and our variations go from $355 down to $161. The variations on those is obviously the program needs for each of the department. Each town specifically has a different diversity. Orleans, just listening to how Tom gave a clear definition of all of the responsibilities that he incurs, it is much more complex with one facility. In doing so, we noticed that the cost escalations as we move forward from 2004 to 2016 are increasing. The good news is that there is a very competitive market out there bidding on these projects. And that news is actually good for the taxpayers of Orleans as well as the project team. We're noting that the bids are coming in very favorable. There's a high market of bidders. We had almost 85 bidders just for the file subcontractors, which was up from previous projects that we've bid over the past several years. The good news overall that with the bids coming in favorable, the cost increases on the overall projects are being very competitive, which are maintaining a level funded cost associated with each of the entities. Right now, we foresee that the general contractors should be favorable and bid very competitively. Orleans DPW and the facility includes quite a bit of programs. I mean, it's the vehicle storage, the administration, maintenance shops, wash bays, salt shed, associated site work. The DPW taking on their responsibility, almost about $500,000 of work, just shows the commitment to the town that they need and want this facility and will do whatever they can to minimize the impact. Our estimated cost for the project was right around $12.1 million. And our estimated square footage was 279.72. We feel very strongly that the project will come in on budget, and we'll be able to build this project within the time frame that associated with those 14 months.
Well, we're getting near the end of our presentation. Things you want to keep in mind are how big the organization is, in comparison to the town budget, the school budget. DPW is about that, but that's how big their budget is. It's the third biggest budget in town. The conditions that they're working in are untenable and inefficient. We can't do our jobs without them. And the cost of delay is significant. Now, we'll take any questions from the public that want to make a comment. We would ask you to come up to the podium, identify yourself, make your comment, or ask your question to somebody specifically, and we'll go from there. Is there anyone that wishes to make a statement or ask a question?
Good morning. I'm Lynn Bruneau. I live in Orleans on Seacrest Drive. Question, just for clarification, we had two different budget numbers. I know that we had a sub-budget number from the first presenter that was a 12 number that went to 13, and then we had the second budget that ended at 12, but could we have a clarification on the difference, just again for clarity? Thank you. And also to clarify, I'm the chairman of the Orleans Finance Committee.
Okay, thank you for the question. So in my first portion of it, we provided a construction number of approximately $12.4 million, and then we carried the owner's development costs, which got us to the 13.8. In Joe's presentation, he referenced 12.1. So that's comparing the 12.4 to the 12.1. So that was just construction costs. And that difference was just primarily based on the owner's project manager doing their estimate and the engineering firm doing a separate estimate. So those two numbers were essentially, from an estimating world, were very close, indicating that we felt we were on track.
The clarity, I think, is very important.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You can speak from there. Yeah, you won't have to go.
Very simple question. How about the septic system for the whole area? Because you've got a problem with the nitrogen from the transfer station. You have to consider.
We'll have Tom answer that question.
Hi, thank you. The facility itself, even though it's, not a small facility, it will not generate a lot of septage flow because, as I like to say, give or take 35, 40 people working there. Most of them are out in the field most of the day. It has a, Title V design septic system that'll be there. And also anything from the wash bays is collected in a tight tank and then will be trucked off-site, to a plant somewhere and treated appropriately. So the facility itself will not generate, any significant amount of nitrogen. And like I said, the project itself, based upon the meeting with the consultants, by locating the salt shed where we have it and utilizing that, making some other improvements to cap some of the area where the old septage lagoons were, will probably actually, the project will have a decrease in nitrogen coming off the site. In fact, we're also, one added thought, we're also moving the existing compost facility is where the salt shed is now, and we're going to be moving that on top of the landfill, and we're already permitted and designed to do that. And just by the nature of moving that out of the way, we'll also have, again, a significant improvement in nitrogen production off the site. So as a net, we should be reducing nitrogen off the site.
Anyone else?
Will this have any impact on your annual budget? Will you get any savings or anything out of that with regard to the annual budget?
That's an awesome question. So it's a new facility, so it's a large budget. Like Mr. Fuller said, we're the second largest budget in town, roughly, I think, $4.6 million budget. From a facility operational standpoint, I'm sure we'll see a reduction in like maintenance, repairs in the facilities, et cetera, because we're going into a new facility. But the other component of that, and I touched on it a little bit, is this is a modern facility that meets code. Well, the codes have changed a lot since 1960, so there's all kinds of HVAC, air coming into the building and treatment, et cetera, on the facility. So our utility costs will go up. We've run some estimated numbers. I think we're estimating utility costs for the entire department will only go up about $6,000 over the existing, which for the size of the department actually is a very small amount. From a reality standpoint and efficiency standpoint, I think you're going to gain significant savings in all aspects of the facility. For example, the fleet. I believe the fleet's worth over $3 million. We're going to be keeping at least over half of it in that particular facility. That savings alone is going to help you, and plus with the wash bay, is going to save you on equipment purchasing frequency. I have already, like a year ago when we started doing this, I started doing projections on how much longer would the equipment last. And I did some projections on that. And I would, it's an educated guess, at least 3 more years per piece of equipment. And when you're looking at a $3 million fleet, you're talking a lot of money. Never mind the wash bay and washing them immediately after a storm. So you're going to have equipment savings, you're going to have savings on fixing facilities, and then you've got the overall efficiency savings running a department in one location with your management team seeing your staff every day at 7 in the morning.